My name is Jack, and this is the story of the mountain I could not climb. It is not a story about victory or achievement. Instead, it is a story about failure and the strange, unexpected way failure can lift us, guide us, and push us forward when we least expect it. People often talk about success as if it is the only teacher, but I learned more from this failure than from any achievement in my life. When I was 27, I decided I wanted to climb a famous mountain near my country's northern border. I had seen photos of it since I was a child. The mountain had a sharp peak that cut the sky like a blade. Snow covered its slopes like a thick white blanket, and on clear days, the sky above the summit looked so close that it seemed to rest right on top of the mountain. To me, it felt like a place from a dream, a place where the world became silent and pure. I trained for months. Every morning, before the sun fully rose, I ran up hills near my home. I forced myself to carry a heavy backpack to make my legs stronger. On weekends, I hiked long trails alone, listening to the sound of my breath and the steady beat of my heart. I bought gear I could hardly afford, special boots that promised to keep my feet warm, thick gloves that made my hands feel like they belonged to someone else, a warm jacket so heavy it almost felt like armor. I read every book I could find about climbing. I watched hours of videos. I spoke to experienced climbers who had stories full of danger and beauty. Each person told me the same thing. The mountain is beautiful, but it is not gentle. You must respect it. You must never think you are stronger than the mountain. When the climbing season finally came, I joined a small group of climbers. There were 6 of us, including a guide named Mira. She was strong, quiet, and confident. She walked with a steady rhythm, like she had learned the mountain's heartbeat. She didn't talk much, but when she did, her voice carried calmness. She was the kind of person you trusted immediately without needing to know why. We began our climb early in the morning. The sky was clear, and the air was cold enough to bite our faces, but the cold made me feel alive. I felt excitement and fear living together inside my chest, like 2 animals fighting for space. For the first hours, everything felt perfect. We walked through forests that smelled like pine and wet earth. We crossed small rivers where the water ran fast and sharp. We laughed. We took pictures. We felt like a team, like people connected by the same goal. But as we climbed higher, the weather began to change. A cold wind blew across the mountain, cutting through our clothes. Clouds slowly covered the sun. The path became steeper, and the rocks grew slippery because of the thin layer of snow forming on them. I tried to stay calm, but a quiet fear started growing inside me. It sat in my stomach like a small stone. After 8 long hours of climbing, we reached a small base camp. My legs were shaking, and my hands felt weak. We rested, ate warm soup that tasted better than anything I had eaten in weeks, and prepared for the final part of the climb. Mira looked at the sky for a long time before she spoke. She said the weather was not stable. Storms could come quickly at that height. She told us to stay focused, to listen carefully, and to follow her directions without question. The next morning we started again. The air was colder than before, and the snow under our feet made soft crunching sounds. The path was narrow and dangerous. At one point, we had to cross a thin ledge with a deep fall on one side. My legs shook as I stepped forward. I could feel the wind pushing against my body like it was trying to test my balance. I focused on my breathing. In, out. slow, steady. Mira told me to keep my eyes on the rock in front of me, not on the empty space below. Her voice kept me moving. As we climbed higher, the air became thin. I struggled to breathe. My chest felt heavy, like someone was sitting on it. Every step felt twice as hard as the one before, but I pushed forward. I wanted to continue. I wanted to reach the top. I wanted to see the world from the summit I had dreamed about since childhood. But dreams do not control the mountain. When we were just 400 meters away from the summit, everything changed. A strong storm arrived suddenly, as if the mountain had decided that we had come far enough. Snow fell like white fire, fast and sharp. The wind screamed so loudly it felt like the mountain was warning us to leave. The air turned freezing. Mira shouted that we had to turn back. My heart dropped. I looked up at the summit. It was so close that I felt I could reach it with my hand. So close that it almost hurt to look at it. But the mountain did not care about my dream. It cared only about its own weather. We turned back, and the walk down felt endless. It was painful. Not physically, emotionally. Every step felt like a step away from something important. When we finally reached the base camp, the excitement inside me had turned into a heavy emptiness. In the following days, I could think of only one thing. I failed. I trained for months. I worked harder than ever. And still, I failed. I felt angry. I felt disappointed. And I felt ashamed, even though no one blamed me. But slowly, something began to change inside me. Friends reminded me that I had tried something difficult. Mira told me that failure on a mountain is natural and necessary. She said mountains teach you to be humble. They teach you to respect nature. They teach you that you cannot control everything in life. 1 week later, I began training again. Not to prove anything, not to show off, but because I realized something important. Failure does not end your story. Sometimes it begins a new one, a stronger one, a wiser one. I still have not reached the summit of that mountain, but the failure taught me more than success ever could. It taught me patience. It taught me discipline. It taught me respect for nature, for difficulty, and for myself. And one day, when I am ready, I will go back.
How much did you understand? Give yourself a number from 1 to 10. If you understood most of it, you can try the next level.